Aurora's considering a plan to address the police department's staffing woes, asking volunteers to pitch in for free.
There are a lot of people who they can't commit full time.
Every leader is focused on solving homelessness, yet the number of people living on the streets and in shelters rose dramatically this year. What was lush and green last month is nice and crispy today, but preventing the next fire isn't as easy as mowing a field of dead grass. And Colorado cyclists draft their own driver's ed class with a focus on, not dying while riding their bikes. That's tonight on Next.
If they won't come for the pay, maybe just don't pay them at all. Aurora Police has a need for more police officers, like pretty much every other department in the state. So now one city councilwoman has a plan to fill those spots with unpaid officers. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
When Aurora City Council got an update on Aurora Police job openings last month, they were shown 68 vacancies, with 11 officers having just left in May.
Any extra help would help with morale.
Aurora City Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky will start discussion tonight on this ordinance allowing for a reserve police force in Aurora. Volunteer. Why would someone take an unpaid police job when there are 68 paid openings?
There are a lot of people who they can't commit full time.
Turns out there are currently 230 reserve officers throughout Colorado, some with full training like a police officer or sheriff's deputy, others with basic certification, meaning they can assist officers and deputies.
The idea has started because we want to actually take some of our firefighter medics and have them in with our SWAT team as tactical medics.
The Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office has 6 SWAT medics from South Metro Fire Rescue. The general duties of a reserve deputy in Arapahoe County include take law enforcement action to defend themselves or others.
The overall goal is to strengthen the numbers in our police department.
Separately from this reserve police force idea, Jurinsky at a public safety committee meeting earlier this month was unfiltered after one of the police union presidents talked about morale being the lowest he's ever seen.
If you are not as committed to rebuilding our image with the community as you are to rebuilding the trust within the department, I don't care who it is in the chief's office, you can get the out.
What's the message there?
So the message is that we very much need to continue to strengthen our relationship with the community and work to rebuild that. But it seems like the current interim chief is only focused on that and only focused on the appearance of the department and is not stabilizing the department and is not working on morale within the department amongst the officers.
I reached out to the interim chief, Art Acevedo, about both parts of this story. I didn't hear back from him. He was busy today. Gave him short notice, not his fault. Reserve officers are certified through the same peace officer training as real officers, so they can be armed. It's just a matter of can they be alone like a recently retired officer or supervised by someone else in real time, Mark?
Sure. So like you said during the story, there are dozens of openings right now that are paid openings at the Aurora Police Department. So that begs the question, why would anybody take the volunteer position when they could be paid?
Great question. I mean, Jurinsky points out you may have someone who's recently retired that could offer 5 to 10 hours, maybe doesn't want to jeopardize their Social Security or some other government-funded thing that they're getting that they can't take a full salary. But the idea that maybe
there's for very specific people.
People that have a desire to help, but limited time, and maybe, 8 hours, 10 hours, sure, that seems fun, and I'm helping the city. Why not?
It's a novel idea. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah.
Marshall, thank you. If there is something you really do not want the public to see, may I recommend releasing it on a Saturday afternoon in the middle of summer. After fighting for months and spending thousands of dollars in court, Denver Public Schools Board of Education finally released a tape of the closed-door meeting where board members debated bringing armed police officers back to schools. Oh, you missed that. That's because they made it public over the weekend while the rest of us were, at the pool or out hiking. The recording shows a 4-hour closed-door meeting the day after 2 deans were shot and injured by a student at East High School. There are some tense moments between board members and Superintendent Alex Marrero. Before this meeting, Superintendent Marrero announced he was authorizing armed DPD officers at each campus through the end of the year, even though that was a decision that went against board policy. Board members who drafted the resolution to remove armed officers from schools in 2020 said that they were blindsided by the decision.
Your words put us in danger.
because you made the community look at us and act like we weren't responsive to them. We didn't even have a chance to go out there and say, hey, this is the board action, because you issued a statement. Congratulations. You're the hero of the moment.
Not concerned about being a hero, because 50% of the people will hate me as they are right now.
So after this meeting, the board immediately voted to suspend the district policy banning armed officers through the end of the school year. Superintendent's new safety policy released last month expands on that, allowing school resource officers to return next year as well. The recording also shows the superintendent telling board members that if they did not bring back SROs on their own, Denver Mayor Michael Hancock would force them to do it, threatening an executive order. Hancock has denied that he ever said that. It might not be a surprise if you've ever driven through parts of the metro area recently, but now we have the data to back it up. The annual homeless count is out, and it shows a stark increase in the number of people living on the streets and in shelters. One night each year, the point-in-time count captures a snapshot of homelessness across the 7-county metro area. This year's count was in January. We're just now getting those results now. Across the metro area, 9,000 people were counted without a home. That's up 31% from last year's count. The Metro Denver Homelessness Initiative says nearly 4,000 of those people were homeless for the first time.
We've seen the protections that were there during COVID, things like the eviction moratorium, rental assistance, prevention assistance, even increased in benefits. All of those things were things that really helped families and households stay out of homelessness. And now that those have expired, we're seeing a really large influx of people experiencing homelessness for the first time.
There is a stark difference between counties, no surprise here, but Denver had the highest count. Volunteers counted 5,800 people experiencing homelessness during this year's count. No other county broke 1,000. And some counties like Douglas County and Broomfield stayed in the double digits. Part of the reason that we're seeing this rise could be from the impact that the pandemic had. Now that COVID relief funds have stopped, evictions have gone up as more people struggle to pay rent. Homelessness has been the top priority so far in Mayor Mike Johnston's very short tenure here in Denver. Johnston says his immediate focus is on getting the city's unsheltered residents off the streets and into either shelters or long-term housing. As of this year's count, that was about 1,400 people who fit into that category in Denver. Last week, Mayor Johnston signed an emergency declaration setting up an emergency operations center focused on homelessness. That begins today. City Council gave their approval to the mayor's plans tonight. They voted to extend his state of emergency through at least August 21st. The mayor says that declaration frees up funding and speeds up their permitting process to help with that. A new Colorado law banning a controversial procedure known as an abortion reversal might face an obstacle from medical professionals. Democratic lawmakers passed the ban on abortion reversals this year as part of a bill cracking down on faith-based crisis pregnancy centers. But the doctors get the final say. Lawmakers left a loophole in the bill allowing the state's medical and nursing boards to override the ban if they declare an abortion reversal as a generally accepted practice. Major medical bodies have yet to approve the practice, which involves giving patients hormones to counteract a medicine-induced abortion. The Colorado Medical Board hasn't approved the procedure yet, but they released a draft rule last week that stops short of banning the procedure in total. The draft plan says regulators will investigate individual complaints about the procedure. Well, this fall, the community of Berthoud in mid-northern Colorado is going to start building something they've talked about for years, thanks to your help. Kyle's gone today, but that doesn't mean that we can't still make a difference.
Hey, thank you for everything that you've done to help build the Berthoud Adaptive Park in northern Colorado. They're going to break ground in the fall on that first of its kind park for that community. It's a park that is accessible to all, and your donations are going to help add more inclusive equipment to further expand that park. If you know of a need anywhere in Colorado, we can find a nonprofit that's making a positive impact, and together we can help them do even more to benefit our neighbors. Email me ideas for your next Word of Thanks campaign to next@9news.com.
These natural grasses and weeds are significantly taller than they were around this time last year.
All this green and brown has fire departments seeing red. Cities are trying to cut down on fire risk, paying you to cut down all that grass. Community effort to hold Suncor's Commerce City refinery accountable comes to an unexpected end. And bike advocates hope a new driver's ed course will shift the conversation around sharing the road. That's next. The air around the Suncor refinery in Commerce City is notoriously dirty. Now, unfortunately, we'll know a little less about how dangerous it is. Community nonprofit monitoring air quality in the area is calling it quits. For about a year and a half, Cultivando has worked with researchers to monitor for air pollutants in Commerce City. The project was initially set for a year and funded through a settlement between Suncor and the state after several air pollution violations at the refinery. The nonprofit said their monitoring showed Suncor was periodically a source of radioactivity, multiple kinds of pollutants, and short spikes in cancer-causing chemicals. Cultivando was awarded an additional $500,000 from the EPA to continue that work. Researchers who work with Cultivando say the nonprofit has turned that money down, forcing them to take their monitors offline. An EPA spokesperson said they wouldn't waive federal requirements for the grant money, like a quality assurance report, to ensure Cultivando's readings were accurate. But Cultivando says they've just decided to turn their focus to other advocacy efforts. Well, Colorado is in the middle of a bit of a catch-22 of sorts. We loved all that rain in the spring when it decreased fire danger, but now so much overgrown vegetation that's drying out. It's the first time in years that we've seen this type of growth, which got us wondering if counties are doing anything special to try and cut down on fire danger.
The hot summer sun leaves the grass dry. Perfect for blending in if you're a coyote, or jumping off of if you're a grasshopper.
That really, really wet spring has created very tall grass.
But if you're a firefighter, the wet spring has you worried.
The more fuel that there is to burn, the bigger problems our firefighters and certainly our communities are going to have if a fire starts.
Eric Hurst is with South Metro Fire. When grasses get too long, it's hard for his crews to fight fires if they start.
If we have fuel length or flame length in that fuel above 4 feet, it becomes unsafe and ineffective for firefighters to do direct fire attack. So the taller the flames, the more firefighters are going to have to stay back for their safety.
Colorado hasn't seen this type of overgrown vegetation in years with the recent droughts. In Boulder, a new community tax is helping increase livestock grazing and forest thinning to try and decrease fire risk. In Douglas County, a new program will pay 75% of the cost for people to create defensible space around their homes and reduce overgrown fuels. The program has become so popular, they aren't accepting any more applications. The tall grass is good for a lot of things. Stopping fires isn't one of them.
Lots of moisture in the spring, higher fuel vegetation growth can lead to problems for us, especially if we're not receiving regular rainfall. And that's really the key to this.
Every day, fire departments work to determine the fire danger and if a fire were to start, how quickly it could spread. They use science to predict all of that, combining temperature and wind speed with how thick things like vegetation are. And that's how we get those signs all around Colorado that show how high the fire danger is on a day like today. I want to bring in Danielle Grant right now. And of course, Danielle, as we talk about high fire danger, right on cue, we see some storms popping up all around the Denver metro area.
Before these storms rolled in, however, Mar, we were dealing with the heat, serious heat, because it hit 98 degrees, officially out at DIA, marking our hottest day thus far for the year. We're in the triple digits across the far northeastern plains, even into southern Colorado, 90s in Kremling, up to Steamboat and 102 in Grand Junction. We have the heat advisories continuing for much of the south, and then even parts of southeastern Colorado. They're under it until 8 o'clock tonight, and then it goes back into effect tomorrow, 10 a.m. until 8 p.m., 100 to 105. Temperatures expected. Yes, like you said, if you live downtown Denver, you've probably been hearing all the thunder, seeing a bit of lightning. I was just tracking some of this on our camera, and certainly you can kind of see the curtains of rain in the distance, too. Most of the action just firing up within about the past 45 minutes time. Some scattered storms off to the west, so we're not quite done yet. Have a good round of rain as well as some gusty winds and a bit of lightning near Greeley, but this storm system has more bark than bite. Yeah, it's a loud one, that's for sure, and pretty electrical too, with more than 65 lightning strikes in the past 10 to 15 minutes time. Right now, the heaviest rain sitting over parts of Park Hill, I-70, Central Park, and out toward Commerce City, too. Of note, DIA, they just went on a ground stop, so keep that in mind if you have friends, family coming into town. The rest of this evening, those storms will track off to the east, and tomorrow we will be back in business with the sunshine. And then right on cue, about 3, 4 o'clock, isolated storms crossing the I-25 corridor, and you might find 1 or 2 of those turn severe, but that's primarily going to be across the eastern side of the state. Back to the upper 90s. We go, and some spots back to the triple digits. Look at the eastern plains. Whew, you guys can't catch a break out there. We'll be monitoring these isolated storms for the next couple of days, and the 90-degree heat sticks with us through the weekend. Right now, it looks like next Monday, a high of 89.
As infrastructure comes in and as policies and laws change, education is really important to make sure that people know what these things really mean.
Bike advocates say driver's ed is not keeping up with the times, so they made their own. Whether you commute on 4 wheels or 2, we could all learn something new. Next. Let me ask you to think back for a second to your driver's ed course. It could be 40 years ago, it could be last week. Surely they asked you the same thing, though, to keep an eye out for cyclists and pedestrians, to share the road. Now a group of cyclists is launching its own driver's ed course to make the road safer for all of us.
In order for things to get better and for things to move in the direction of more people riding bikes and fewer fatalities on the road, one of the things that matters is education. My name is Aishwarya Krishnamurthy. I am the Director of Marketing and Communications with Bicycle Colorado. Tomorrow is the big launch of our long-awaited Shift Driving, which is an online driver education course specifically focused on teaching drivers how to navigate around infrastructure and policies related to people walking and biking. This is an evolution of a course called Bicycle Friendly Driver that we've been teaching since around 2016. Fatalities among pedestrians are rising, and bicyclist fatalities are not going down the way we want to see them. And so clearly, with fatality rates going up, with a lot more drivers on the road and more people biking, and we want to see more people biking. Current driver education requirements don't really have anything involving vulnerable road users, meaning people outside of a car, like people biking or walking. And so Shift Driving provides a really good supplement to driver education courses and for anyone else, including like professionals and entities who want their employees to take this course. We realized that our reach was going to be limited if it was just webinars and in-person courses. And we realized digitizing this program was going to help us reach a lot more Coloradans around the state. So the course is 100% free. When they log in, there's going to be a number of modules of the course that teach different aspects of policies and of laws and safe driving practices around people riding a bike or walking. It can be really easy when you're inside a car to not think about the experiences of someone who's not protected by that metal frame that you're protected by. What we really want to see is more drivers just being more cognizant of the people that they're driving around and to make sure that we're all really courteous and safe around everyone else who's using the road.
According to the Colorado Department of Transportation, in 2022, Colorado lost 745 lives to traffic fatalities, the most roadway deaths in the state since 1981. That's an increase of 57% just 10 years ago, and includes a record number of pedestrians and motorcyclists who died. The most Colorado thing we saw today is an especially bouncy fox. That's next. The most Colorado thing that we saw today was a fuzzy neighbor jumping for joy. Something caught Anne Marie's eye Saturday morning when she looked out at the trampoline in her backyard in Littleton. Look at it. Just jumping around like it's its favorite thing in the world. Foxes jumping around for summer on the trampoline. A quick feedback from my wife today. She says, "Mark, you're doing great. We love the positive feedback." Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.